Good afternoon from Singapore, and a very warm welcome to all of you who have chosen to join us today for our boarding virtual open day, an introduction to our boarding communities at both our campuses and a chance to learn more about what it would be like to be a boarding student at Uwcsea in Singapore. We are just going to give our audience members a few more minutes, a chance to join this Zoom meeting successfully. So please bear with us. We will get underway with our program in just a few minutes. And while you wait, I'm going to invite you to enjoy two short videos. They show you a day in the life of each of our boarding communities. So we'll start with this one, which is a day in the life of East Boarding, and then go on to the next one, which is a day in the life of Dover Boarding. Enjoy, and we will be back to start the program right after these videos. Thank you. Okay, we hope you enjoyed those little glimpses of life in our boarding community on both campuses. So good afternoon and a very warm welcome again to everyone. I know we will still have some audience members joining us from various parts of the world, but we will get underway now with our program. So my name is Malika Ramdas. I'm Director of Admissions at the college, and I'm just going to take the next few moments to give you an overview of this afternoon's session, the different elements of our program for you, and a few matters of guidance about sort of the protocols that we will request you to follow during this meeting so that you can enjoy the program and listen to everybody, to all the speakers, and also have a chance for your own questions. Christina, if you could go back to the program slide for me, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we have a really wonderful chance for you to get to know our boarding community. And there will be a presentation which will occupy the first hour of our program. And that presentation will introduce you to members of our boarding community on both our campuses. And they will talk you through what the boarding experience is all about, both from the staff point of view as well as from the student experience point of view. You will get to hear from a range of staff and students in both our boarding communities. They're going to talk to you about what it's like to join our residential community, what life in the community is like, the different kind of support that students receive from a number of people within our boarding and wider college community. And you will also get to hear a parent perspective on what it's like to be the parents of a boarder at Uwcsea. After that, we will move into an audience question and answer session, which we will divide you up into breakout rooms, and you will be interacting with people in your breakout room, where you have, of course, other audience members, but you will have members of both our East and boarding staff represented in your breakout room, as well as some students and somebody from admissions. So you can ask any questions that you have that are related to either the boarding community, the student experience, or admissions while we are in the breakout rooms. And we will have that running for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then when we come back, we will close with our virtual tours. We know that unfortunately we can't offer you an in-person campus tour or boarding tour at the moment. So in the meantime, we are happy to be able to share some virtual tours that give you an understanding and a feel of the different spaces that your children will be living in if they become boarders in our community. So that's our program for you today. I wanted to mention that you will hear from lots of different voices in the course of today. And it's really exciting that the team that is going to be presenting to you today represents sort of a microcosm of our college community and especially our boarding community. So just to give you a flavor of that, here are the nationalities and cultural backgrounds that are represented. The students you'll be hearing from today represent Cambodia, Thailand, Chile, Jamaica, Zambia, Indonesia, and South Korea. The staff represent culturally, or in terms of the passports they hold, the Philippines, UK, South Africa, the United States, Uganda, and South Sudan. And then admissions and marketing represent, as well as our parents, represent India, Australia, the UK, Philippines, and Singapore. So that should give you a sense of kind of the incredible diversity just in terms of cultures, languages, nationalities that we enjoy in our community. So now just a few things about how we will run today's session. So this is a Zoom meeting that we're in. We're going to request our audience to keep your cameras off and your microphones turned off during the presentation section of today. But once you're in the breakout rooms, we will invite you to put your cameras on so that we can see you and you can see us. And you have a chance to ask your questions live, and please do so because it's really nice to be able to interact as much as we can, kind of face to face in those breakout rooms. So we will again remind you of that once we're in the breakout rooms. Okay, so we are going to start with just requesting you to give us some initial feedback on what you are most excited to learn more about in today's boarding virtual open day. So if you could take a moment to respond to the poll that you see in front of you, that would be great. Please do respond to the poll if you're able to. Fantastic. Keep your responses coming. And if you're just joining us now, this is Uwcsea virtual open day related to boarding. And we are just inviting everyone to give us give us some feedback here through this poll on what you are most excited to learn more about today. So we will keep the poll open for another couple of seconds and then close it. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and close the poll. Thank you very much. And And we can see that, there's a lot of interest in what life is like, particularly from the student point of view. And you will certainly get to hear from our boarding students quite a lot in the course of today's presentation and in the breakout rooms. Okay, so with that, it is now my very great pleasure to introduce you to our two directors of residential life, Marcel Campbell on our East Campus and Nick Allison on our Dover campus. And they will in turn introduce you to the various other speakers as part of the presentation. So over to you, Nick and Marcel.
Thanks, Malika. Can you hit the next slide, Christina? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on wherever you are in the world. My name is Marcel Campbell, and I'm the Director of Residential Life here at Uwcsea East Campus. My colleague Nick and I will be facilitating the webinar today, and we hope it's going to provide you with the information that you need to make a good choice for your family as you embark on the adventure of joining a boarding community. A brief introduction about me before I hand over to my colleague Nick. I've lived here in the boarding house on East Campus for the past 8 years. I've lived in boarding houses much longer than in my own houses for most of my adult life. In fact, I've almost spent 2 decades now living and working in boarding communities. I'm joined by my husband, James, who's also been working in boarding communities for a long time, and our 3 daughters who've spent all of their lives living in the boarding community too. Over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Marcel. Hi, everyone. My name's Nick Allison, and I'm working over at the Dover campus as Director of Residential Life. I've lived and worked in a number of residential settings, sometimes in boarding, but also I've worked as a teacher and a social worker. My passion really been the education that takes place outside the classroom. I started working outdoor pursuits and educational school tours a long time ago was my route to here. I think one thing that we try very hard, both Marcel and I, to do is to offer as much of our education outside of the classroom here in the boarding houses, and that's what a good boarding house in the 2020s does. It offers a holistic view of the world and the skills and extracurricular activities. I live here with Vina, my wife, and my daughter, who is now just moved into grade 10 this year. We live here on site, and I've only been here for 15 months, so my whole life has been spent in COVID version of living at the Uwcsea, like many of the students here, now in grade 12. So I'm kind of in a situation where I'm wondering, to a certain extent, what the world looks like normally around the UWC when COVID eventually lifts. Back to you, Marcel.
Thanks, Nick. Boarding is truly a passion of mine. I believe that nowhere else can people develop the skills and the qualities that they do in boarding in any other environment. It is really something special. And in fact, residential life is at the heart of every UWC community in all of our 18 colleges around the world, and is the essence of Kurt Hahn's vision that bringing together young people from all backgrounds and walks of life results in an utterly transformational experience. And that's what we offer here in boarding at UWC, extending all the 5 learning areas that you would have heard about in our high school and middle school webinars: challenge, transformation, preparation for life, not just university, and significant learning outside of the classroom. It isn't simply an option for families who want to send their children to the school but can't live in Singapore, but rather it has to be an act of choice and an act of buying in to the community's principles and the mission of UWC. Here you can see our boarding philosophy. It is very much centered around the UWC mission. And if you read it carefully, I hope you will notice it's not centered around creating an environment where academics is the sole focus and the driving force to what we do. To the contrary, we value students who engage meaningfully in areas outside of the classroom and engage meaningfully within the boarding community, because in that way, our community members develop the skills and qualities that are going to enable them to be successful in all areas of their life. And most importantly, develop a motivation for engaging in the world around them to the benefit of others. A key characteristic of our community, and one that has an impact on our admissions, is a deliberate creation of a diverse community where we have students of a variety of different backgrounds, cultures, passions, talents, interests, personality types, and ways of thinking. And as you can imagine, with so many young people from such different cultures and walks of life, this can present challenges to someone who's living in this dynamic environment. And it's the resolution of those challenges on a daily basis where the learning and the magic of boarding happens. To guide all the members of our community in navigating these challenges and developing the lifelong habits that they need to contribute towards achieving the UWC mission, we have the 9-principle boarding manifesto. If you look at it carefully, you will see there's an emphasis on caring for others, caring for the environment, and acting in the interests of others and not ourselves. I'm going to hand over to Nick, along with some of the boarding students at Dover, who are going to share a little bit about what the community looks and feels like there.
Thank you. I think one of the first things you notice about moving into boarding is how welcoming everybody is, and the openness of people around you. And it's not always that way. We've all moved schools or moved into a new job, and it can be quite an intimidating process. People are interested in what you bring. They're interested in where you've come from, and they're interested in your experiences, because of course it's extremely diverse backgrounds that people are coming from. There's no real awkwardness, and that's quite unique, I think. Also comment-worthy is the level of trust given by the house parents teams to the boarders, the trust between the individual members of the community and from the boarding point of view, and that responsibility of living up to the trust that's given is taken very seriously by everybody. And the community lives by the UWC values. As you know, the two campuses are different geographically and in terms of age, but the fundamentals of individualized care, security, and trust, combined with a sense of humor, which seems to move across both sites, is kind of very much what you find. There is a big team supporting your child: house parents, day parents, assistant house parents, boarding counsellors, support with SEN or EAL. There's nursing staff and the aunties who help with the domestic side. All of these people all work together to make the experience as good as we can. The facilities are excellent, and the opportunity for structured clubs or spontaneous sports and activities. We have multiple large and small common rooms, games rooms, kitchens, and study areas. Across both campuses, we have around 350 students in boarding. Approximately a quarter of those are scholarship students who are selected through their national committees in their home countries in a needs-blind, merit-based process. This provides opportunities for an international education for some who would not be able to access it otherwise. It also helps us because we have this amazing range of experiences and viewpoints, perspectives on life. And this is what Kurt Hahn, of course, envisaged when he set this whole idea into motion. Our community comes from every continent: children of millionaires, of royalty, subsistence farmers and shop workers, and all of the backgrounds in between. We have an interesting rule, which is that no student can share a room with a roommate from the same nationality. So what you find is that when you arrive, you might find yourself in with somebody from Lithuania, somebody from Panama, somebody from China, and yourself. So it's a very interesting dynamic when people arrive. It seems to work extraordinarily well. This ensures that your child is exposed to new cultures, backgrounds, languages, and experiences. You can find many great schools with great IGCSE results and IB results in Singapore and around the world. Our hope is that you will find in UWC SEA that our boarding experience offers an awful lot more than that. It's okay to hear it from Marcel and I, but it's far better to hear it from some of the young people who live in the boarding house currently or have joined us recently. recently. So I'm going to introduce a few of those, but also in the breakout rooms, you'll find Steve Webster, who's the Deputy Director for Dover here, and also Manny, who's one of our day parents, who is assistant house parent and day parent, supporting the administration and running of the boarding house. So I'm going to hand it over to, first of all, to Sokthira and Nabi, who are came in grade 8 and have moved into grade 9. And after that, Nadja and Amanda, who have joined us about 5-6 weeks ago into grade 11. So over to you.
Hello, thank you, Nick. I'm Napi. I'm grade 9, and as mentioned, I was here in grade 8, and I'm from Thailand.
Hello everyone. My name is Thira. I'm from Cambodia, and this is my second year here at Uwcsea as well as boarding house. And yeah.
Today we will be talking about our experiences in boarding, especially since we got here a little late on grade 8 because of COVID. So
yeah, even though we arrived late at the boarding house around like October last year, 2020, but thankfully to house parents, day parents, and people working in the boarding house will make us feel welcome, and I do appreciate that so much since it's our first time away from home. So it's mean a lot to us.
Also, after staying in boarding for around 1 year now, we've like developed like our own family, like home away from home, and especially with our roommates, we'll develop more friendship with them, especially since we're living with them and in the boarding house. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm a grade 9 boarder, these are grade 10 boarders, and like we're separated. It feels like we're all like part of the community, and just feels like we're all boarders, we're all living together and part of Uwcsea.
And I don't know how to describe it, but I would say it's not easy and not hard to live in a place where you wasn't born at that place. But at the same time, I would say I really enjoy this experience. It's just so beautiful to feel belong to a place where it's not the place where you're born, but to me, it's more, it's not like about the place that make you feel home. Sometimes it might be because of people too. Just like my experience, I feel like this is my second home now. Yeah.
Also staying here, something I really enjoy is you get to meet people from different backgrounds and nationalities. You'll learn about their cultures and different things, just really interesting things, especially from your roommates, since you're not living with people from the same country where you probably know all about it already. You get to learn different things, experience new cultures, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, and to me, one of my favorite thing in the boarding house is just sit down and listen to each other's stories. Definitely my favorite one, to just share and chill and know that it won't be right or wrong. Just talk and talk, share your story and listen to each other. That's definitely my favorite thing in the boarding house. Thank you.
Wait,
Hi. Hello. Hi. So I'm Amanda. I'm a grade 11. I'm from Chile. And I'm Naja. I'm also grade 11 and I'm from Jamaica. So we're just going to talk a little bit about our experience coming in as grade 11s. And we're just going to like kind of piggyback off what Napi and Sokthira were saying. Okay. So arriving as a grade 11 in boarding. For me, at first, the idea of coming to a boarding house, especially as a grade 11, was really daunting. I was kind of nervous about how the community would be and how I would fit within the community. But I think the amazing thing about a boarding community like Uwcsea is that we're all coming from such different backgrounds that it creates such a rich environment that you don't even feel like you are away from home. It's so diverse and so different that it doesn't feel different at all, if you know what I mean. So I had not really high expectations of the boarding house. I wasn't really expecting it to be bad, but I wasn't expecting it to be a community that I can call home either. So I think that I can have that is something really amazing. Yeah, like Naja said, the place is so diverse. We have people from different countries, but also with different personalities. So you're always going to fit somewhere, even if you feel like you're not going to fit, you're always going to fit because there's so many. there's so many people that are different. They are like sporty or talented in art stuff, and you're always going to have to someone to talk about what you like. And it's so interesting to talk about our different cultures with someone. Sometimes we're in the kitchen and we're talking about just how we do things in our home, how do we celebrate things, and it's just so fun to talk about it. And you learn so many things like from different cultures that I never thought I would learn. But I think it's amazing. And also like having roommates is really nice because you have a lot of time to meet them, and you really feel like you have friends that at first you're kind of scared. I was kind of scared when I came here. I was like, am I gonna get friends? But like it's so nice because we create such a nice community and we always support each other, so you're always gonna have someone that will listen to you. And yeah, it's really nice. It's a really nice community.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that a lot of students, again, no, I was, and I think Amanda was too, scared about when coming into boarding was the amount of freedom and the amount of responsibility that we would have. You know, we're away from home and we are kind of not with our parents, we're with house parents, you know, and it's a different dynamic for sure. And one of the things I was really afraid of is not getting that same level of responsibility or freedom that I would have had at home when it was just my parents and I. But I think the house parents and the entire UWC boarding community gives you a level of responsibility and freedom that is like really good. Like you are able to go out the same that you would at home. You're able to go hang out with friends as long as you let the board, like you follow procedure, you do your leave requests, you let everyone know where you're going. It is so easy to be able to go out and have fun and like do things that you could do back home within the context of boarding.
But also feeling safe, like you know the house parents are taking care of you, so that's really nice. And I feel like the relationship between school and boarding is really dynamic in some way because like I feel like comparing it to day students, I feel like we have a lot of support. Like we have ambassadors, like grade 12s that are going to help you. If you have a problem in math, you're going to find someone that's going to help you. And sometimes I feel like some day students don't have that, and we do. So you're always going to be supported. You have also space to study. We have the study room. We have time to study. So you're always going to have time for that. And it's so nice to feel supported. And you're always going to find someone to help you, even though if it's math, chemistry, art, anything. And sometimes it's kind of hard to like balance the like social life and boarding with school because you're always going to have to talk to your friends. But it's really good because you have to develop the time management and the like maturity to know your timing and know your priorities. So that I think that's a really nice thing to know and to develop here.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to end on the feeling of boarding in the house. You know what I mean? I have roommates from Serbia, Colombia, Malaysia, and it creates such a rich and dynamic environment just within the context of your room. That's not even talking about all the different people who are on your floor in the house, in the entire school. It feels like such an incredible experience because if you have any questions about anywhere, there is someone who can answer your question. And it doesn't feel like an environment where people are afraid to ask. Everyone is so willing to share and everyone is so open to their culture and their background. And I think it creates an environment that's so dynamic within the boarders and the house parent because everyone is coming from such a different, diverse, dynamic background that it creates a community that's like really enriching and lovely for everyone.
Yeah, and it just feels really nice to belong. And it's just a really nice place to be. There's a lot of emotion sometimes in boarding. You feel a lot of things, but at the end of the day, you're always like people. You have nice people around you, and it just feels really nice to belong here, to be here.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, Nadja and Amanda. That was brilliant. Gosh, made me feel quite emotional then. I'm going to hand over from Dover over back to Marcel to East and her team and borders over there.
Thanks, Nick. And to kind of help us understand a little bit more about the boarding experience, we have a group of students from East who will share some of their experience now, but then also later help to answer your questions that you have. So first, I'd like to introduce Uwcsea and Yamiko. Uwcsea and Yamiko, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name is Uwcsea. I am in grade 12 and I come from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Hello everyone, my name is Yamiko. I am also in grade 12 and I am from Zambia.
So, Uwcsea, do you want to tell us a little bit about how boarding has changed you since you joined? and a little bit about what are the best parts of boarding, but also some of the challenges and kind of how you've overcome them.
Sure. So I think it's an interesting question, just because I think Marcel would know because she was the one who interviewed me, but I have taken a 180 to the person I was before I came to boarding, because I started off like really shy, not really into talking to people, and now I'm pretty much surrounded by people 24/7 of the week. And in a way, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think being in boarding has helped me be a kinder individual, and in a way it's just because you're constantly exposed to so many people, and in everything that you do, in every actions that you do, in everything that you say, you know that it might affect the people around you, and just kind of that awareness of being surrounded by people, I feel like it has really, I don't know, it made me more comfortable being around people, actually, because I know that I've interacted with so many different people now that it can really never get that bad in a way. So that's actually really nice. And in a way, it's not like I've changed completely. Like, I still have to take a break from being with around people for a long period of time, but at the same time I find so much comfort in my community, and knowing who I find comfortable with, who I like talking to, and who gives me like that little sparks of happiness when I'm around them is just generally a really nice thing to have. And then in terms of, what's the second question? In terms of like challenges and also best parts about boarding, I think what I want to say is just the best part about boarding for me is doing life together with other people. Of course, I can say it's nice to have such a diverse group of friends, because it is really nice, and we have so many activities that we're doing, and there are so many opportunities to explore and do different things that you've never done before. But I find the little moments really beautiful, like when someone forgot to get eggs to bake their cookies, and there's just some random person with a board of eggs in their room, and they're always willing to share. And just that little moments that you don't really think about generally in the big picture, but I feel like it creates a life that is just so wonderful. And especially putting it in like the current context, where the life around us, the environment around us is constantly changing, and we're living in such an uncertain period of time. But I know that the people in boarding, and the life I have in boarding, and the community I have in boarding is the constantly unchanging constant in such a changing time. And that is a very comforting thing that I hold on to about being a boarder. And yeah, and just generally living with other people in such a close-knit family, I think you're constantly learning something new about others and something new about yourself, and knowing that that will carry you forward as you go on into the next stages of life, especially as we're grade 12s and we're starting to think about what's going to happen moving forward. And I feel like, yeah, that's really important. And in terms of challenges, really, then of course there will be days where it feels like it's a bit too much, and with school as well being difficult. But I think, again, going back to doing life together, of course there will be like hurdles and the bad days, and there's always the house parents, there's always someone to talk to. And I think, building on from what Amanda and Naja are saying, you're just never really alone. And when you do need that time alone, I think the people around you are very sensible and very sensitive to give you that space. So I feel like, yes, there are challenges, but at the same time, it never really gets that bad in boarding. Yes.
Thanks, Ayasha. And Yamiko, do you want to talk a bit about being in the boarding house and your experience of all the other things that go on? So sports, school, activities, service, and kind of how you balance all of that.
Okay, sports, activities, and school. So for me, when I started school, I started it while I was home. So the first term of school, I was away. So when I was filling in my activities and services for class, when I was asking people who were here already, it's like, what is class? They were just explaining to me, it's like, it's something you have to fill in for the first year and you have to forget about it. But when I actually go to the boarding house, I realize that people are doing these activities and services not just to fill in class, but we are all doing it to have fun. Because as for service, I was working with people with Down syndrome in Singapore, and it's something I've never done before. It was my first time. And when I asked people in schools like, why are you doing this? Most of them was just like filling in class. But at the end of the day, you just sit down with yourself and realize like, I'm having an impact on other people. And it's how the boarding house people help you, because you sit down with some other people sometimes and you share your different services you all take part in, and you realize that we're all being included in the community. And that's how boarding has helped me looking at the service aspect. And as for the activities, it's quite the same. I found people doing sports they've never done before, and I was in the same position. When I was doing that before, when I was home, I was trying to do things I've done before. But when I got here, I found people who were telling me, you should try this. It's going to be all right. And I actually started doing things I've never done before, and it's actually helpful. And I don't think if I was in the boarding house, I would have signed up for things I didn't really know about, because I'll probably be doing things I've always been doing. But finding friends here who do things that they've never done before also made me take a leap of faith, like, okay, I'm going to try it as well. And this has been a time for us to make new friends, and it's through activities, services, and all these extracurricular activities we do outside school. I probably wouldn't have had most of the friends I have right now if it wasn't for the sports and services. And that's how we get to bond sometimes in the boarding house with other people. It's like, oh, you do this activity, I do the same activity, and you just look upon it's like what happened in the previous day. And that's how we get to have friends in the day students, because sometimes it's really hard to be part of other friend groups, but with activities and services, that's how we get to mix around. And that's how like boarding helps us. So we had for me last year I was in grade 11, so I had people who used to give us advice and like, you should try this activity, they'll be good people. And you actually do that, it's like the influence they have on you, and at the end of the day it gets to work out. And right now I'm actually telling other people to do the same, because it's really going to be beneficial in the long run. And we just have to take a leap of faith and try something out of our comfort zone. Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys. So now if we have a chat to a grade 10, who's in a slightly different grade, but also an exam year. Jami, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Jami. I'm in grade 10 right now, and I joined UWC in grade 8. So this is my third year, and I've been through the no COVID era of UWC, went through the quarantine, and now I'm in the COVID times in the boarding house.
Thanks, Jami. So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you are able to study and work in the boarding house?
Yeah, so I think the boarding house, like, they give you time and like time for study, time off for study, and gives you a lot of freedom regarding your own study methods and study times. So in terms of like the mandatory time we get, I think for all grades, from each day we have an hour and a half of study time, where we go to a common room or stay in a library or in our own rooms to study, do our homework, keep pace with school. And we have all these friends in the same grade that are studying together during that mandatory session. So that's when I can get my homework done, see if I have any assignments due, or practice for any tests that I have upcoming. So outside of that 1 hour and a half that happens 5 days in a week, we also have that kind of free time that we can use. And if you want, we have time to study if we need to make up for classes or practice for exams. So for me, I think there are various places around the boarding house and school that we can use, various facilities. So there are common rooms, there's your room that you can study. We get to use the school library if it's open. And for us, at least in the East, I know there are public libraries that my friends and I love to go to, where it's really big, lots of books, and we can just sit around go into a new environment and study or practice. So I think that the facilities are really varied for us to study. And the atmosphere is perfect because we have all these other friends that are kind of supporting us as well. And in terms of like living in a big community, the big difference, I think, is you have all the other grades. So like I'm in grade 10 and I have the grade 11 and 12 buddies. So like my roommate that's coming into my room, but so I get to ask them questions and support. So I've not gone through 11 and 12th grade yet, but I have these higher grades that have read through the same curriculum and activities as me. So if I need any support, I can ask them. I can ask them for a textbook they've used or to help me give suggestions on ways I can study myself. So I think having a diverse kind of grade in the boarding community is really helpful in terms of academics. And also with the teachers, like we have assistant house parents that come in from school, and I can see like there's people from various subjects that come in every week or every day to support our learning and to have kind of the experience with us. So I have my own science teacher that comes in from school. I see them maybe twice a week. I have my PE teacher, and if I need I have any questions, I can ask them as well.
Thank you. And do you want to tell us a little bit about the relationships that you form with the other students in the boarding house and how that supports you?
I think a lot of like even the Dover boarders and the 2 East boarders that just taught, the relationship that you form is like really important in the boarding house. So for me, at least for me, like the closest community I get to know is my roommates and my kind of quarter mates. So because we sleep, we eat, study, go out in the weekends, we do all these activities together. So I think this close kind of family like community is in my rooms, in my corridors, but also we have these big families that involve all the different grades. So like from 8, 9, 10, we have our Tembusu family with Joy, and we have specific like birthday celebrations or kind of holiday activities that we do together. So I think outside of our quarter, we get to know other people from different grades as well who are in our family. So I think that's really different from if you're a day school student where you see your friends at school, but you might not interact with higher grades or lower grades. But in the boarding house, it's a bit different. And also in terms of making relationships with the house parents, assistant house parents, or like the staff people that are working in the boarding house, I think you develop kind of a really close relationship, even if like it could feel like you're a student and they're a teacher, or you're a child and you're an adult. But actually, if you get to know them a lot, I just talk to Joy, I talk to the house parents when I just walk past them in school. And I've also gotten to know the staff members that are in the boarding house, like the cleaning ladies. I just say hello, I start speaking Chinese to them. Like it's kind of a really family-like relationship I form with everyone, not just in my quarter or in my rooms. So I think that's really special about the boarding house.
That's so true. Thank you, Jami. And that segues quite nicely into, we have a house parent and BSc team. So these are two of the adults who are directly responsible for taking care of 33 students in their particular family, which is the Rambutan family. So James and Yanin, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Hello, my name's James. I've been a house parent here for a number of years, 7 or 8 now, nearly 8, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm Yanin. Hi, I'm from the beautiful Sri Lanka. And yeah, James and I have been a team for about, yes,
a long
7
time. So long we've forgotten how long.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you guys just want to explain to people how the two of you would work together to take care of a particular group of students in the boarding house?
Sure. I think that the way that we work together is that we play to one another's strengths, like all the house parenting teams. But we try to develop a really strong sort of level of communication with each other, with parents at home, and obviously with the students. Yanin, where do you see that you kind of play a
for
big
me,
role?
James would be more the pastoral role, I would think, but I'm more support role. Yeah, there would be times when students can't talk to James, maybe they're not comfortable about some medical issue, especially if it's a girl. So at such times, I would support them, and then James would support them in other instances. I would also play a more of an administrative role where I would support students with their student pass process from the time they have to come to Singapore and once they're here to do all the formalities at the ICA. So I support them with that. And then when it comes to medical needs, we have a college doctor who comes in 5 days every weekday for 3 hours. If a student is sick, they go and see the doctor. But there are instances when they need to see specialists outside of school. So then I would go, I would support them by going with them for the medical appointments and the various x-rays and scans and stuff. I would also support them with their financial things, like pocket money, opening bank accounts, and liaising with the parents. Like, someone would come and say, I need $100. That doesn't mean that we would just issue $100. We would check with the parents, and if it's okay, then we process that. And and anytime they need to just talk or laugh or cry, yes, James and I are always there to support. I think James can add more on what you do.
Sure, but I also think that Yanni is underplaying her role. You know, she plays a crucial role every day. She greets the students, she says hello, and she makes really important human contact, you know, on a really consistent basis. So not just administrative at all, but I think we try to parent using all the experience that we've had, hundreds and hundreds of different students who we've had the privilege of looking after. And we try to get to know each new student individually and think about what their needs are, try to understand their perspective, obviously liaise with parents as well, and don't make assumptions about the students. I think we've developed a realization that there is such importance in understanding each context and respecting each context and listening to each student and using that to guide a little bit how we show care and how we show warmth to the students and how we think about structuring our support for them. Now, obviously, sometimes there are very, very clear needs that the students have, and I think we're so lucky to exist in a system where there is a lot of support available. Thinking about counsellors, thinking about academic support in school. I'm thinking also about our assistant house parents who play a really pivotal role in kind of sharing the parenting, I think, sometimes with the house parent teams. And so I think we work together as a large community, but it's kind of coordinated a bit by Yanin and I. I think, generally speaking, students do feel like they're in a place where there is always someone they can talk to. And I think there is always a way for them to get the care and the attention that they need. I really hope that's the case anyway. And I feel that we've worked really, really hard over the years to kind of establish that ethos. We also know that no matter how perfect the teenagers are that you send us as parents, they might come with difficulties and problems and issues. That is fine. And I think that is life. And we enjoy working together with you to find ways to help students who are struggling. And I think that really speaks to the importance of us having integrity and honesty in our relationships and our communications as well. I feel like I've talked for too long already, but I think the key thing is Yanin and we work together as an amazing team, but we work with a broader team as well. And I think it's that community caring for the students that makes boarding a really unique and special place to grow up. Yes.
Thank you so much, you two. I think that's a good point. I think if you look at the boarding teams on both campuses, there's almost 40 people in each team. When you're looking at the housekeeping team, the day parents, the BSCs, the assistant house parents, medical team, facilities team, there's just a myriad of people to support everyone who comes into the boarding community. So thank you for sharing that. we're very lucky today to also have two parents of a boarder who's in our boarding community here in grade 11. I'd like to welcome and thank Marut and Uwcsea for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Good afternoon. I'm Marut, that's Uwcsea. We have a daughter, Amana, who's in grade 11 at Tampines House. She's our only child, and about 3.5 years ago, while Amana was in school, there was never a thought of probably even putting her into boarding school. Though today, if somebody asked me if we made the right decision, I wouldn't say 100% right in that sense. It's just that we went to visit Uwcsea and something clicked in our minds, and there was a connect, and we just decided that there was no other place that Amana could be. So she wouldn't be home, but she would be with Uwcsea. And of course, those were pre-COVID times, and we went and dropped Amana off. The initial, I think, couple of months was settling in and a little transitory. She had never been out of her house. She was a single child, so no people, no siblings. But I think she just took to it. She took to the whole concept of the boarding community, and particularly Uwcsea, like a fish takes to water. And after about a month of, maybe feeling a little sad of not being home, we just started to see her thrive and kind of blossom. And she just started coming out into being her own being. And it's just wonderful to see that. Of course, she managed to come home every 1 or 2 months, but then suddenly COVID happened and she was stuck with us for a few months. But I was very surprised, and me and Uwcsea were very pleased that she consistently would make an effort to get back to a boarding community. That was a consistent effort, because week after week, we would apply for permission to enter. It would not come, but she was at it, and she was very happy to get that permission to go back. She went back in, she had a quarantine in Singapore, settled into the community again. It's been about a year since you've seen her. And every time we ask her, would you like to come back home? The answer is no. So,
I think the answer is that I do not want to risk not being able to go back to Uwcsea. So I think that says a lot. And I think, as James put it, every child is heard. Every child is a person in their own right. And the communication that Amana has with her boarding parents is something that amazes us, because it's a constant dialogue. There is no hesitation in talking about, if something is bothering her, the relationship that she has with the rest of the boarders. I mean, we truly, feel humbled that, that our child is there, and we're parents of the boarder.
And one of the biggest things for us is that Uwcsea and the boarding community have supported her to thrive in the areas that she feels comfortable in. They've picked out on, because as James said, every teenager has weaknesses. So they've been able to understand her weaknesses, and they have supplemented her and helped her completely thrive and take charge of those areas. Of course, there's no magic wand. It doesn't happen overnight. But as he used the words integrity and honesty, as parents, we see that, going into the system every moment that we kind of, see Amana's progress. We are in touch with her we try and be in touch with her on a daily basis. It's more trying to be in touch with her, because I think Amana has a full life there, and it's very difficult to kind of, get her to get onto a call with the parents. I have to go for study time, I have to go for dinner time, I'm spending some time with my friends, I have to do this, I have this, I have this, I have that. And that's really amazing in that sense. So we do miss her, but it makes us incredibly happy to know that she's in a very comfortable space. One more thing is the accessibility that we've had to the house parents, the BSEs. It's just been tremendous, because there's not a moment, and I can say this, that in 3 years of Amana being there, I think we've only had to call the duty phone once. That says a lot, because it's just that because I couldn't get in touch with Amana here or there. So she had just joined, but it's been, otherwise you send emails, you get prompt responses. There's a constant communication, which, completely assures you of the safety and the well-being of your child, which is, I mean, if you today asked us, would we have done this any other way? The answer is absolutely no. This is what we've probably, we're very glad that we've done this.
Thank you so much. That's very kind words, and we've really loved having Amana. As you know, she's really grown and changed so much. For you as parents, like what is the biggest thing that you've seen and a change in her that you've been so proud of?
So I think primarily she has come into her own with the correct values. Now that is something that's very important to us. Of course, she's doing far better academically than she was doing with her under her parents. So that's also great for us to know. But the correct values of, again.
Yeah, I think it is about the correct values. I think it's, being comfortable in your own skin. It's about learning to live with other people and a sense of the spirit of community.
I think that being with community and being in such a diverse community, I think has been a very evolutionary. I mean, it has made her evolve as a person and also kept her grounded with the correct values. I think that's really what.
And I would also like to point out, there's no fear of anyone. So it's a very open conversation that happens, which festers so much honesty because there's no hiding anything. And I think that's really important. The child is not functioning out of fear. The child is functioning out of a sense of, an answerability to within one's own being.
Well, I do believe, because we never went to boarding school, and that, there are many things that, like the sense of discipline, the sense of confidence, the sense of being in your own, the sense of being able to manage things on your own, we would not have been able to teach her at home. And maybe not, I mean, she was probably somewhere else, maybe, it's just with the softness and yet within the structure that UWC deals with it is really what makes all the difference, along with the way the community is structured and it's very diverse. And I mean, one of the most amazing thing is that she has all the freedom in the world. I mean, they all have, everybody I know there has all the freedom in the world. Yet each one of them knows the lines, and they understand they cannot cross them and don't want to cross them. And that's wonderful to kind of, as parents, for us to know something like that.
Thank you. And one of the questions parents often ask is about the communication. You mentioned before that it's quite easy to communicate, but do you have an example of the ways in which the team would communicate with you about different things, just to keep you updated on life here with Amana? Just because I know parents like to understand that as well.
When she went to the clinic?
Yeah, so, maybe in the olden times, things were very different when you really couldn't, like today's the era of cell phones and emails and everything. So the child is also in communication with you literally on a 24/7 basis. But what's amazing is that if we were to send an email or to make a call or say, have you spoken to somebody? She has always approached an house parent first, or a BSc first, or somebody in charge first, before, if she's had any issue about anything, before she's approached her parents. And anything that we've requested for, there's been an absolutely prompt response to that. Of course, some things are urgent and you get urgent responses to them. Some things are not so urgent, but it's been, the communication is, I mean, I don't think
Marcel, I'd like to point out that one day when she was in grade 9, she went to the clinic, and before she could tell us, we'd already received an email from the clinic saying that she checked herself in because she had a headache. So that is a kind of communication that there is, it's.
And there is also proactive communication I think from Tampines House, from all of you in that sense, that wherever you think that there is something that Amana
Needs to
kind of do where parental support is needed. I'm sure you take the brunt of the teenagers a lot on yourself, but where you think the support of the parents is needed, that constant communication has been on with us. It's never ignored at your end.
Yeah.
I think that's also tremendous.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you gave your time today. I know you have busy schedules.
This is a pleasure. I mean, Amana has been such an integral part of the community in that sense that it's just been a pleasure for us to give this time.
Thank you very much. And so that's I hope gives our audience a bit of a picture of what you would be signing up for here at UWC. Alongside the challenge of the 5 elements, you also get a challenging and transformational residential life experience, which is supported by a team of experienced adults and a caring peer community. And joining the boarding community at UWC is a decision that's going to be made by your whole family, because it's going to have an impact not just on your child, but also you as a family. And it will take a sense of buying into the mission, the community experience, and the fostering of values. So I wanted to thank especially the staff and the parents and the students who shared with us today. This is a bit of the end of the presentation from the boarding team. So I'm going to hand back to Malika, the Director of Admissions, who will help us move on to the question and answer session.
Thanks, Marcel. I want to echo Marcel's thank you to everyone who participated in delivering the presentation. A few people are going to leave us at this point, but you will have a chance to interact with several people who will stay on and join different breakout rooms in just a moment. So I want to thank those of our presentation team who need to leave at this point. A very warm thank you, especially to Marut and Uwcsea for dialing in from home in India, and also some of our boarding staff who need to take off and get on with the rest of their afternoon or evening. But I'm now going to invite everyone to, my colleagues have arranged for everyone to go into breakout rooms. Before we do that though, we have a short video which was made a few years ago by some of our boarding students. And it's just kind of I know you've heard lots of student voices in the course of today already, but it's a bit of a humorous look at life in boarding, but with a lot of kind of feeling to it in terms of, I think that it kind of summarizes a lot of the messages that you heard in the course of today. So enjoy this video, and then we will go into our breakout rooms, and we'll have about 25 to 30 minutes in the breakout rooms for your questions. And once you're in the breakout room, please do turn your camera on, and we invite you to then ask your questions in the breakout room. So enjoy this video and see you in the breakout room.
Dear future boarder, or let's say friend, dear future friend, let me welcome you to our boarding community here at Uwcsea. We are a big family, and you will meet so many different people and see faces from all around the world. And see that one? That's me. And this is Myrna, one of the house parents. Oh wait, you don't know what a house parent is? Okay, let's put it this way. House parents are basically teachers at day, but your mom and dad at nighttime. We got 3 boarding houses: the Nelson Mandela and Kurhan House at Dover campus, and the Tampines House on East. Maybe I should mention this. There are 2 campuses, one on this side of Singapore and one over there. I'm on this one. And here are some faces you will see on each campus. But you will get to know us all once you are here, because we do a lot together, like having lunch, and we've got a seat here waiting for you. Or here, or there, or maybe not there, that's where I'm sitting. Also, we have lots of cultural celebrations and themed dinners, which are awesome. But you really start noticing where people come from when you see the snacks they eat. I mean, look at those. Now this is where you study, or here, or there, or here, or... Okay, whoa, not that one. Yeah, that's better. Now, let me share some important tips that will make your transition into boarding life a lot easier. First things first, after you come back from school, there is afternoon tea just waiting there for you. And if you want to make yourself a snack, never boil milk in a kettle. Same thing goes for ramen or pasta. Just use a pot in our kitchen. Now, there is a laundry service. Please use it, because if you miss the pickup, you gotta do it yourself. Now, technology. Some of us have a technology curfew when you gotta hand over your tech devices for the night, unless you're grade 12, like me. But don't even think about not handing over your second phone for technology curfew. Trust me, this doesn't work. They will find out. They always do. Sometimes it feels like they know what you planned before you do it. Scary, really. It's surprising just how many languages one person can speak. You can't just switch to your mother tongue and think no one will understand. Oof. To be frank, the work can be pretty tough at school, and teachers expect a lot, but there is always a friend or house parent to help you if you get stuck. So, reach out and be helpful. Life is so much better with your friends around. You can play foosball, have a barbecue together, or they could wake you up when you're late for school, which of course never happens to me. Well, I could talk more, but I want to save some things for a surprise when you're actually here. So, we are looking forward to meeting you. Make sure to bring some snacks from your country so we can make another video about that. That's fun. See you soon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your time in the breakout rooms. I know we may not have been able to get to absolutely every question. In my breakout room, we had a little flurry of questions coming in right at the end. So I apologize if we did not get to everybody's question, but we really appreciate your questions. We had lots of great questions and good conversation around some of the things that you're curious about. If you did not have a chance to get your question answered, I want to reassure you that that was not your only opportunity. Please do feel free to contact us in admissions. On the screen, you should be able to see my colleague, Caitlin Go. Caitlin is waving to you now from her little box. And Caitlin is our boarding admissions officer. She has worked in the admissions team for a long time. She is extremely familiar with both our boarding communities. And she's just been bumped up to the center of our screen by Christina. That was clever. And so here's Caitlin, and Caitlin would be very happy to connect with you. You can book a virtual meeting online on our admissions website, and you can actually choose the day and time that you wish to meet with Caitlin. And she's very happy to have that conversation with you. And so you can follow up on any questions you have then. You're also welcome to give us a call or to email us. So those are the ways in which you can connect with us. And if there's something that we don't know the answer to, we will certainly reach out to our boarding colleagues and get their responses and forward those to you. So at this point, I am going to thank all of our boarding colleagues and students who have spent a lot of time today, taking time away from what they have to get on with normally. Thank you very, very much. And to all of our audience, I'm super grateful for the time that you've invested in getting to know more about UWC in Singapore and more about our boarding communities in particular. And finally, we're going to close with taking you on our brand new virtual tours of both boarding communities. Before we do that, if you wouldn't mind responding to a quick closing poll that we have for you, we just want your feedback on today, what you enjoyed the most, and it's helpful to us in following up and planning future sessions. So I think one of my colleagues is going to try and launch that closing poll now. So please respond to that if you could. There we go. And at this point, I'm going to just bid farewell to all our boarding colleagues, and they are welcome to carry on with their day and leave us. Thank you all so much. And after the closing poll, we will play you our virtual tours. So enjoy them, and we will not see you at the end of that. So I want to wish everyone all the best for the rest of your day, whether that's early morning, middle of the day, or late at night, depending on which part of the world you're in right now. We hope you've enjoyed our boarding program, and really looking forward to staying in touch through your child's admissions process if you decide to apply. Thank you for your responses. Those of you who are still responding, we'll close this poll in just another second or two and then play you our virtual tours. Okay, thank you very much. I think we can close that. Go ahead and close the poll. Thanks a lot for your responses, everyone. And Christina is now going to show you our virtual tours. Enjoy those. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna check again.
No problem.
Okay, let's try.
Christina, I think you might be in that speaker view again, or the presenter notes view.
I did try.
Okay, just bear with us, everyone. Our apologies. Of course, when we tested, everything worked perfectly. This is the way of technology. Please bear with us. We will try to play those tours for you.
Okay, and Monica, if you could just go ahead and continue, I will just look for that. Sorry about that.
No problem. So I'll give Christina a chance to see if she can troubleshoot. We're not quite sure why it's not playing properly. It worked beautifully before, as I said. And let me see if I can pull that up and maybe I can share screen instead. Give me one moment.
Okay, I'm on the deck.
Do you want to give it another try? If not, I can try.
Yeah, I'm opening it right now.
All righty.
Sorry for that. Okay, let's try. Is that okay?
That's good.
All right. Enjoy the tour. Okay, we hope you enjoyed our tour of our Tampines house. Now we'll give you a tour of our Dover boarding house.
So for those of you who are still with us at the end of today's program, again, a very, very warm thank you for spending your time with us this afternoon, well, afternoon in Singapore time. And, you know, I hope that got you, and if you are a student here today, got you really excited about the idea of coming to UWCSEA as a boarder. And for parents, I hope that was informative and reassuring in terms of the care and the warmth and just the love in our boarding community. It's an amazing thing, and it really is kind of the heart of what UWC is all about. It's sort of a community within a bigger community and a microcosm of everything that we hold dear to us in terms of our mission and values. So we hope you enjoyed this afternoon. Thank you very, very much. And thank you to our participating panelists and to all of you for giving up your time. And we look forward to staying in touch with you. Thanks, and have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye now.